her microphone on. Tara Meadows is another one of our more veteran teachers in the geospatial semester. She was one of our first teachers this year to kind of take on the use of using some high-end Trimble units. We have a case of Trimble Junos that circulates around through the geospatial semester, and so students went out and collected high-precision data where they could differentially correct the data so that the accuracy would improve, oftentimes within under 2 meters. And so they practiced that on campus, and then they paired up with the local foundation and did some data collection for them, kind of an asset management, which is a big deal for groups and organizations to be able to inventory what they have, the conditions that it's in, and to store that spatially so it's not just in a data table. And they did some pretty interesting maps with that. So with that, I think I hear that Tara is online. I'm going to turn it over to her.
Hello. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm up now?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Okay, well, I guess let me start by introducing myself. My name is Tara Meadows, and like Paul said, I've been teaching in the geospatial semester for 6 years now, and I wanted to highlight this particular project that my students did this school year. We are on a semester basis, so at my school, I had a class of geospatial students first semester, and then I switched to a second class for the second semester. So this project was from first semester this school year. Okay, the picture that you guys are looking at on your screen is a picture of the historic Whitehouse farm. It's got a lot of Civil War history surrounding it, and it is located pretty close to our school. I don't know if anybody's very familiar with the Luray area. It's just a couple of miles from our school, and the Whitehouse property was purchased by by someone who bought this house. I was looking for the picture. Now you guys can see the picture on the screen. The picture that you're looking at is the farmhouse that sits on the property. And then you can't see it in this picture, but off to the left is the historic Whitehouse that I just showed you the other picture of. Let me go back to it so you can see it again. That's a picture of it in the fall, and this was a picture of it in the winter. So anyway, this place has been turned into an educational foundation, and they like to pair with school groups to do different activities. And one of the activities that we did, this is the one I'm going to highlight in my presentation tonight, we paired with the foundation and went out using the GPS units provided by JMU. Okay, I don't really know if links are going to work in this, but if they don't work, regardless, you guys can see it on the screen and you can write it down and visit that page if you want.
Tara, if you would like to, we can share your browser with this, and I can go ahead and bring up the browser for you if you want me to show that page.
Yeah, sure. I would actually like to show them the foundation has the map that we made embedded into their website. So at the end, I would like to show that it's on their website. It's kind of cool to see something that the kids made.
Okay. I'll go ahead and bring this up while you're talking, and
okay.
Then you can tell me where to go.
Okay, sounds good.
Go ahead and continue.
Okay. So let's see. Let me just talk a little bit about the materials that we needed to do this project, and also Okay. It will probably be a little while, but I'll be ready for it soon. Is that good? Okay, so let me talk a little bit about the materials that we needed for the project, and then also I'll talk a little bit about the process we used. You know, like what did we do at school versus what did we do on site. Okay, so the units that we used were Trimble Juno GPS units, and they had TerraSync software, and the software that was installed on the computer was called Pathfinder Office. Now, our first step in this process was for the students to become familiar with the GPS unit. On a day-to-day basis in the classroom, we use Garmin, kind of low-end GPS units, and they're really, really easy for the kids to catch on to. But I thought with doing a project like this, the higher-end units tend to give better accuracy, so I thought it would be better to kind of challenge the kids a little bit. While doing a project where we had paired with a community organization. So we had to get the software onto the computers, and then JMU had already set up the software on the Juno unit. The thing I like the best about this project, and I put it the first line on the slide that you guys are looking at, is that it's a service-based project, and it's also a real-life application. So Rebecca was just talking about all of the analysis and like the real-time data that you can collect. This is kind of the same thing in the sense that the students are able to go out to an organization in the community and do an actual project that is going to be used by the organization. So it's not just a project for the sake of a grade or for the sake of doing a project. It's the idea that the students are actually creating something useful for the community. And for example, this farm foundation is going to actually use this in talks and things like that they give on site. So the GPS units, I know someone made a comment earlier saying, I bet the kids pick up on this really quick, and that's absolutely true. Even with these high-end GPS units, the kids do a really nice job of figuring out the software. So I personally felt a little intimidated by using those high-end GPS units, because it takes a little bit of time to figure out how the software works, and I feel a lot of times like I want to know everything about the software right up front before I start telling the kids about it. But that's not necessarily it doesn't necessarily have to be like that, because you can really just show the kids the software, give them some general guidelines, let them play with the units a little bit, and they do a really good job of trying to figure things out. So the nice thing about the high-end GPS units is that you can build an attribute table on the computer, and then you can upload it to the GPS unit. And then when you're out in the field, you're not just collecting coordinates, you're collecting other features as well. Like, for example, you could collect, I'm going to show in a minute a picture of a fruit orchard, and you not only can mark the locations of the trees, you can also say things like, what year was the tree planted, what kind of tree is it. And so we spent a class period or two at the farm talking with the director of the Whitehouse Foundation, and we just kind of made lists on paper. And we said, okay, what is it you want to know, want people to be able to find out about the fruit orchard? What is it you want people to know about the structures that are on the property? And so she gave us an idea of what kinds of things she would like us to include in the attribute table. And there were 9 students that worked together on this project, and we had a couple of groups of 2, one group of 3, and they took returned using the GPS unit, so not every student had a unit. We had 1 unit per group. And we built our attributes ahead of time in the classroom based upon the attributes that the director of the Whitehouse Farm asked us to include. So, let's see. I've got a couple of samples here of what the students put together. They were divided into 4 groups, and the job of the first group was to map the fields that surround the property. So there were, I listed them so everybody could see them: soybeans, hay, corn, and a nursery. So this map that you're looking at now is kind of the first draft that the students put together. If you look closely in the bottom right corner, you can see the main highway. That's US Highway 211. And then if you look kind of in the horseshoe shape on the left side, you can see the Shenandoah River. And the farm sits in close proximity to Shenandoah River and also to Highway 211. And the farm is right in this area. That's where the farmhouses are. So all of these white boxes, this is data that was collected with the GPS unit. So what the students did was they walked along the edge of the field and they collected points. And along with collecting the data, the coordinate data, the next thing they would do is they would say, okay, is this a hay field? Is this a corn field? Is this a soybean field? And they ended up they did do a little bit of digitizing in there as well to get the back parts of the fields that was a little bit difficult to walk through. But here is the finished layout for the group that did the crops. So I know the legend is a little light. It's kind of hard to see, but the cornfields are yellow, the hay field is green, and the soybeans are kind of a beige color. And then they designed that inset map so you can see it a little bit larger. That's where the tree nursery is at, and there are actually thousands of trees in that little spot right there. And we had a group of students start from the front of the field and a group of students start from the back of the field. And there's about 300 or so points that are brought out in that outset map. So the neat thing, one of the other neat things besides it being a service-based project, is the idea that students are learning stuff that they didn't necessarily know before. One of the primary goals of the Whitehouse Farm is to kind of reestablish native trees to Virginia. So all of the trees that they're planting in this nursery are native to Virginia. So they learned, some other stuff like what kind of trees are native, and then also what do they do with these trees. I found this kind of interesting. These trees are planted here at Whitehouse Farm, and they allow them to grow to a certain age, and then they'll take them to cities and use them in city landscapes. So that's the map from the first group. Okay, now for group 2, these guys did trees, shrubs, and the garden that's on site. And the types of attributes they put in were types of trees and types of shrubs. And again, we worked with the director of the Whitehouse Farm to figure out what kind of things we were going to put in our attribute table. Okay, and here is the beginnings of the map where the group walked around the farmhouse property and mapped all of the trees. You can't see the attributes on the map, of course, but if we were on the desktop version of ArcMap, we could see that each of these dots, each of the red tack dots on the map, has got a lot of data behind it. It tells what year the tree was planted, and it also tells what type of tree it is. We also worked a little bit with some Latin names of the trees, so that was another attribute that we added in there. Okay, and This is the layout the students created from the landscaping. So you can see this one is extended a little bit more than the picture before it. In this kind of circle area, you can see that the property is lined with trees and shrubs, and it also has markings of where the garden and the berry patch are located. Okay. Then the next group, these are the folks that mapped the fruit orchard, and they probably had the least amount of attributes in there. They only had 4. So as they were on site mapping the trees, right there in their handheld GPS unit, they can use the pin to the unit, and they can tap on the screen and they can say, okay, I've collected a point for this particular tree. I've collected a GPS point. Now what kind of tree is it? And they can add that in right away. It doesn't have to be done in the desktop version. Okay, so this is their rough draft map of the fruit orchard. It's not all that exciting, but the next one is better. Okay, and here is the fruit orchard final draft. So the top portion of the picture shows the location in proximity to the farmhouse building, shows where the orchard is at, and then the bottom picture is showing in greater detail. They've got the trees symbolized as far as what type of tree it is, and also in the attribute table they had the dates plugged in as to when the trees were planted. Okay. All right, and then the last group, this is the group that had probably the most difficulty with the GPS units, because their issue was the closer you get to a building, the more difficult it is to get a good signal. So here's their original map, and they had a lot of issues when they downloaded their data. They had not done the differential correction for a couple of the structures, so it was way off, and they had to use the desktop version of the software to do some editing to make the map look a little bit cleaner. Okay, here's the finished version of the structures at the Whitehouse farm. They've got them all labeled, and blocks 1, 2, and 3 show zoomed in features, the barns in the top one, and then the farmhouse, and then the lighthouse. And then over to the right you can see everything all together. Okay. Now this is kind of piggybacking off of Rebecca's talk that she did earlier. This is where we took the data that we had collected with the GPS unit and we put it into a map. So we put it into an ArcGIS online map, which is one of the interactive maps that Rebecca was talking about earlier. Can I get this? Can we get this link up so people can see what the map looks like online?
What is that link? I don't. Unfortunately, when we converted your PowerPoint, the links are not active anymore. But if you have the address, go ahead and type it into the chat window, and I'll bring it up on the.
Okay. Let's see. I need. It's logging in. I would have to log in. Is that possible?
Okay. What you need to do is
the website. Paul might be able to help
bring it up on your browser first.
Okay. All right. And then
just
copy
bring it
it
up on
and
your browser
paste it
first, and then
into.
I'll tell you how to share your browser with the rest of us.
Oh, got it. Okay. Does anybody have any questions while I'm bringing this up? Okay, this will just take a minute.
Kara, I don't have questions, but this is really cool, and I'm in a little bit more of a highly populated area, and I wish I could get my students easily to a place like this to do that same type of stuff. And so you've given me a lot of inspiration to pull them out and use those units to do this stuff. It's very cool.
Thank you.
I really like the fact that you're doing authentic problems here and not just shall we say book problems. Something that really applies in your community.
Right. I think that's what the kids like the most about it as well. I think they enjoy the idea that they're actually doing something that they know people are going to use.
Definitely. Okay, now if your browser has the site on it, then we can go ahead and start sharing it.
Okay. It is just about to come up. I almost have it. And okay, it's on my screen now.
Okay. At the top of the interface for the Collaborate window, there are 3 little buttons up there, one with a pencil scribbling on a screen.
Right.
You see that?
I do.
Okay. Click the second button over, the one with the overlapping windows.
Okay.
And then down below it says Start Sharing.
And then press OK for that.
Click that, and then you should be able to select
Okay.
that browser in the list that comes up. Does it list that particular site there? There we go.
Let's see, I have a couple of sites open. I think I might need to close some sites.
Well, whatever's in the, there we go. It's loading now. There we are.
Okay.
So we're now seeing your browser. Okay, make sure your browser is the frontmost window there. I think you may have.
All right.
So make sure it's the frontmost window on your screen.
Is that available for people to see?
It's loading. Like I said, make sure it's the frontmost one though. So click on the browser. There you go. It just needs to bring it to the front. There we are. Now we're seeing it.
Now you're seeing it. Okay. All right. So here's the map. Here's everybody's data put together, and you can, if you bring up the table of contents over on the left side, and then you zoom in. Let me give a quick demonstration on how this works. So you can zoom in to see a little bit more detail. Okay, and now we're looking at an aerial image of the Whitehouse farm. This is part of something that you can just add to a map if you're in the ArcGIS software. And you can see the fruit orchard. And if you click on some of these trees, now you have an idea of what I was talking about with the attributes. So this one was a maple tree, and it was planted in 2011. And this one was a magnolia tree, planted in 2011. And then if we click over here on the field, you can see that our crop type is corn. And over here, the crop type is soybean. So that just gives you an idea. The kids really liked that they could collect data with a GPS unit, and then not only could they see it on their desktop, but they could also see it online. And the other nice thing is that the Whitehouse farm was able to take this map and embed it into the website, and that's a nice feature of ArcGIS Online. You can make these maps, and then you have the option to embed it into a website. So, if anybody would happen to have, like a class website, you can put samples of your work up on the website. Okay. All right, and then can I go back to my slides? I have one slide left. Does anybody have any questions about this embedding the map?
There's your slides.
Okay. Okay, and I apologize for my extra spaces here in this slide, but the advantages of this project like I said before, the kids really like the idea of a real-life experience. And, I mean, Rebecca's right. This is easy for me because I'm in kind of a rural community, and this farm foundation happens to be like 5 miles from our school, and we can easily get there in a block and do some data collection and then get back to school. So that works out pretty nice for us. But there are probably other opportunities that that other people can use to, you know, other opportunities they can find in their community where they could collect data such as this and put it on an online map. Technology skills, group skills, students are getting really good practice with using the GPS unit, and also the idea that it's got a project with a purpose behind it. Okay, and could we bring up that other link so I can show the website to the Whitehouse
just give me a
Foundation?
second.
All right.
There you go.
Okay. And so anybody can find this on the website, and they've got...
I'm doing the sharing here, so just let me know where you want to go.
Okay. Go to Projects, and Schools and Universities.
There you are.
And there we go, Luray High School GIS class project. And they have us right there on their map, on their website. That's their community website. And this map is the one that I just showed you guys, and I said that it was interactive. It's interactive on their site as well.
Very cool. Is there any place else on here you want to show them?
There's a couple of pictures on there, but I don't think they have any recent pictures of the students that did this project. So I just wanted folks to see that, see what the map looked like when it was embedded into a website. And it's relatively simple to do. It's not very difficult. But you know, the great thing about this project is you're using desktop software, and you're also using the ArcGIS online program, which is free to anybody who would want to use it.
Okay. We're back at your slides now, so are there any questions?
Okay.
Any questions for Tara, or for Rebecca for that matter, as to what they're doing and how they're doing it? Erin is asking there, how did you assess the students' work, and how do the students assess their own work?
The thing that I like to do with class activities like this, I generally do whenever we're on site or whenever we're preparing to go on site. I always like to do a participation grade, and they've got the breakdown of, you know, what constitutes a good participation grade. So I definitely base part of their grade on that, and then you know, the detail they use in creating their maps is part of it. The accuracy of their data when they're out there with the GPS units, you know, do they look like they're rushing through it, or are they actually standing at each tree waiting to pick up a signal? Getting the right data into the GPS and then moving on to the next one. So it's really about, you know, the students taking an active role in learning and making sure they have correct data, since the data, like I said, is actually going to be used. It's not just for a class project. So a way to extend that, we didn't have a whole lot of time to extend it, but a way to extend that would be, you know, to have the students say, okay, what else could we do with this data? So here we've mapped it. It's a nice overview of what is at the farm and details about it, and it's nice to have that stuff cataloged so you can change it. You can go back in easily and make changes to it. But that would be another thing that the students could do. They could go out and try to make, get other ideas as to how they would use that data. Other things they could do with it.
Tara, I was wondering, do you ever consider using comments from the community as part of their assessment? Since they're out there doing this as in the community doing this, do you ever try to get feedback in that way?
Do you mean from the organization itself, or?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The director of the foundation that we worked with, she visited our classroom a couple of times, and the students would interact with her and talk with her, and she would say, I like this about your map, but I feel like we could use it more if you did this to it. And so the students would make changes based upon some of her suggestions, some of the things that she would like to see on the map.
I like that. Excellent. Well, we are right at 9 o'clock, and I just want to say thank you to Paul and to Rebecca and to Tara for very interesting evening. This is I'm a big fan of Google Earth, but I've only kind of skirted around the whole idea of GIS. So this has given me a little bit of an incentive to dig into it a little bit more, and I hope the rest of you are all interested in looking into this a little bit more as well. And thank you very much. Karen?
Yeah, I was just going to say, this is Karen. Thanks. This has been a terrific evening. Really interesting projects that are going on, and opportunities in the state that are just terrific, what the students are doing with data and mapping, and it's amazing. Thank you so much for being willing to share with us. And for folks still in the room, we are recording these sessions. We'll get those recordings